Thank you. Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the nominees. Thank you for being here. Mr. Chief, if I could just start with you. I just want to clarify something that you said to Senator Baldwin a moment or two ago. She asked you about OCR investigations into alleged cases of discrimination on the basis of gender identity under Title IX. And you said, I think, I'm looking at our quick transcript of your remarks. I was sitting here. I just want to make sure I heard it correctly. You said that the OCR, Department of Ed OCR, would investigate alleged cases of gender identity discrimination. Why is that?
Thank you.
What's up, Patriots? Welcome back to America First, the channel that puts American values and common sense first in every conversation. If you're new here, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're going to keep bringing you the truth that the mainstream media won't tell you. Ring that notification bell, too, so you never miss our latest content, defending our constitutional rights and traditional American values. Today, we're diving into some incredibly important footage from what appears to be a Senate confirmation hearing, where we finally see someone with backbone standing up for women's rights and biological reality. This is exactly the kind of leadership we need in our education system, and I want to break down why this matters so much for every American family.
Why is that?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Senator, and for the opportunity to have a detailed discussion about it. So in 2017, OCR clarified that transgender students, that students who bring allegations forth based on sexual orientation and gender identity were protected from harassment under Title IX. Sex stereotyping, a very narrow set of cases applied to protect students on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. That was back in 2017. Following the Bostock case, OCR had to step back and determine how Bostock applied to Title IX cases. There are a lot of reasons it didn't apply, and I can walk through those because they're significant. But what OCR finally determined is that because of the holding in Bostock, that Bostock could inform OCR's evaluation of complaints that allege discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation identity to determine if they involve biological sex, which is consistent with the Bostock opinion. So what we held is that Bostock could inform a limited sect of OCR cases pertaining to different treatment, pertaining to harassment, pertaining to bullying, but we drew a hard line at universally accepting Bostock to apply to all Title IX cases. What we said is that because the Supreme Court said that biological sex was not relevant in the termination of those employees in Bostock, that we would also look at the relevance of sex in our cases. And what we determined is that sex is relevant in certain instances. Sex is relevant with regard to restrooms. Sex is relevant with regard to locker rooms. And sex is relevant with regard to athletic teams. So it was a very nuanced approach.
But sex is not gender identity. And the Bostock decision is Title VII. The Supreme Court specifically reserved the question of whether or not it applied to Title IX. Justice Gorsuch is very clear on this. Now, the Biden administration didn't heed that warning at all, as you know.
Yes, sir.
They subsequently issued guidance that attempted to rewrite Title IX completely.
Yes.
That guidance has been enjoined nationally by courts because it is utterly inconsistent with the text of Title IX. Indeed, as you know, it completely upends it. It reads Title IX to say that women's sports cease to exist, that a biological man, if he wants to be in a woman's sport, go for it. In a woman's locker room, fine. It's so outrageous that I think almost every court that has considered it has enjoined it.
I agree.
So, okay, I just want to be sure that you're not going to follow the Biden administration's interpretation of Title IX, surely.
No, sir. The Biden administration universally accepted Bostock and arguably exceeded, right? Went even further, I think.
Not arguably.
Than the Bostock opinion. That is not what we did under President Trump's first term, and that is not what we will do under President Trump's second term.
Good. Okay. I want to be crystal clear on this. That I think it's a very dangerous thing to start allowing this into Title IX, which is, it is a landmark statute. It is vitally important, and it has been under attack for 4 very long years, where we have seen women's sports, women's leadership opportunities, women's safety eliminated in many cases. And now, of course, one of the challenges you're going to face is you've got a host of colleges and universities who are openly defying, not just this administration, they're defying court orders I hear a lot of talk from my friends over here on this side of the dais about the need to follow court orders. We've got a whole bunch of colleges and administrations that are defying court orders and saying, oh, we don't care. We're going to have biological men in women's sports no matter what. We're going to have biological men in women's locker rooms no matter what. Surely you're going to go after that, are you not, and protect the women on campus?
Yes, sir. The current leadership within OCR and Secretary McMahon, as you know, is prioritizing these cases, and that will not stop under my leadership if I'm fortunate enough to assume this role.
Good. And I want to be on the record to back to your regulations both in 2017 and 2020. I think you might want to rethink those. I mean, in light of subsequent jurisprudence and in light, frankly, of subsequent experience, I think you want to take a really hard look at how you're interpreting gender identity and the interface. We've had there's some water under the bridge now, and the interface with biological sex and just how that's being used to undermine the rights of it's never the rights of men, it's always the rights of women, 100% of the time. And I think we've got to be very careful about that.
Thank you.
My time has expired, and the chairman, I'm such a good citizen, I never go over. So I'll just submit some questions for the record for you, Dr. Schwinn, and others. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hawley. Senator King.
Let me start by saying this. For 4 long years under the Biden administration, we watched as radical gender ideology was forced into our schools and colleges, completely destroying women's sports and putting our daughters at risk. This hearing shows us there's finally light at the end of the tunnel, and we have leaders who understand that Title IX was created to protect women, not erase them. The nominee in this hearing demonstrates exactly the kind of principled leadership we need. When pressed about the Office for Civil Rights Investigations into gender identity discrimination, they provided a detailed, legally sound explanation that shows they actually understand both the law and the Constitution. Unlike the previous administration that simply ignored court orders and legal precedent, this nominee explained how they would follow a balanced approach that respects both individual dignity and biological reality. Here's what's crucial to understand about the 2017 OCR position that was discussed. The Trump administration didn't just throw transgender students under the bus like the media claimed. They created a framework that protected students from harassment while still maintaining common sense distinctions based on biological sex. This is exactly what reasonable governance looks like, protecting everyone while not destroying the rights of women and girls. The discussion about the Bostock case is particularly important for every American to understand. The Supreme Court's decision in Bostock dealt specifically with employment discrimination under Title VII, not education under Title IX. Justice Gorsuch was very clear that the court was not ruling on Title IX issues. But what did the Biden administration do? They ignored this limitation and tried to weaponize Bostock to completely rewrite Title IX, effectively ending women's sports as we know them. This is why elections matter, patriots. The Biden administration's guidance was so radical and legally unsound that courts across the country had to step in and block it. We're talking about guidance that would have allowed biological males to compete against our daughters in sports, use their locker rooms, and basically make the concept of women's athletics meaningless. This isn't about hatred or discrimination. This is about protecting the opportunities that Title IX was specifically designed to create for women. The nominee's commitment to enforcement is exactly what we need to hear. For too long, we've seen colleges and universities openly defying court orders because they knew the federal government wouldn't hold them accountable. These institutions receive billions in taxpayer funding, and they think they can just ignore the law when it doesn't align with their woke agenda. That ends now. What really stands out to me is the senator's point about how this always impacts women's rights, never men's rights. This is the uncomfortable truth that the left doesn't want to acknowledge. Every single time we see these gender identity policies implemented, it's women who lose opportunities, women who lose scholarships, women who lose championships they trained their entire lives for. The feminist movement that fought for Title IX in the first place is being completely undermined by this radical ideology. The nominee's explanation about biological sex being relevant in restrooms, locker rooms, and athletic teams is pure common sense. This isn't controversial. This is basic biology and basic safety. Our daughters deserve to have private spaces where they can change clothes without worrying about biological males being present. They deserve to compete in sports against other biological females. This should not be a radical position in America. What gives me hope is seeing leaders who understand that we can protect individual dignity while also maintaining these important distinctions. The approach outlined in this hearing shows that we can have policies that prevent harassment and bullying while still preserving women's sports and women's spaces. This is what principled leadership looks like. Finding solutions that protect everyone without destroying fundamental rights. The senator's suggestion to review the 2017 and 2020 regulations is also important. As we learn more about how these policies play out in real life, we need to be willing to strengthen protections for women while maintaining appropriate safeguards for all students. This is how responsive government should work, constantly evaluating and improving policies based on evidence and outcomes. Patriots, this hearing represents a turning point in our fight to restore sanity to our education system. For 4 years, we watched as radical activists in the Department of Education push policies that hurt women and ignored basic biology. Now we have leaders who understand that Title IX was a landmark achievement for women's rights, and they're committed to protecting it. This is about more than just sports or bathrooms. This is about whether we're going to allow a small group of activists to redefine fundamental concepts like biological sex for the entire country. The American people have spoken clearly on this issue, and we deserve leaders who will implement policies that reflect our values and protect our children. The commitment to go after colleges and universities that defy court orders is particularly important. These institutions have gotten away with ignoring the law for too long, and it's time to hold them accountable. If they want to continue receiving federal funding, they need to follow federal law. It's that simple. As we move forward, we need to stay engaged and make sure our voices are heard. This hearing shows that we have leaders who are willing to fight for common sense policies, but they need our support. Contact your representatives, attend school board meetings, and make sure your local schools are following the law. The protection of women's rights in education is not a partisan issue. It's an American issue. Title IX has opened doors for millions of women over the past 50 years, and we cannot allow radical ideology to destroy that progress. The framework outlined in this hearing gives us hope that we can restore balance and protect the rights that so many women fought to achieve. Patriots, this is why we keep fighting. This is why we keep speaking out against radical policies that harm our daughters and undermine our values. With leaders like this in place, we can begin to repair the damage that's been done and ensure that future generations of American women have the same opportunities that Title IX was designed to protect. Thanks for watching America First. And remember to like this video if you agree that we need leaders who will stand up for women's rights and biological reality. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest content. Share this with your friends and family because everyone needs to understand what's at stake in this fight for common sense in our education system. Until next time, keep fighting for America first.